There's this moment that happens to almost everyone who starts getting serious about money. You grind for months, maybe even a year or two, and you finally look at your bank account and see a number that actually feels real. Maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 10. And for a brief, beautiful second, you feel like you've made it, like you've climbed out of the hole. But then rent hits. Your car does that thing again where it makes a noise that sounds expensive. Groceries somehow cost twice what they did last year. And just like that, you're back to watching your balance drain like someone pulled the plug on a bathtub. You start wondering if this is just how it works. If maybe saving money is something that only works for people who already have money. And honestly, I get it. I've been in that exact spot where I was doing everything quote-unquote right and still felt like I was running on a treadmill bolted to the floor. My name is Adrian, and I spend an honestly embarrassing amount of time thinking about money psychology, about why certain dollar amounts change people's behavior in ways they don't even notice, and why some folks seem to hit a point where their finances just start working for them, while the rest of us are white-knuckling it through every month. And here's what I found after years of obsessing over this stuff. There's a number, a specific threshold, and when you cross it, the entire game changes, not just financially, I mean psychologically, emotionally, even socially. That number is $20,000, and what happens after you cross it is honestly wilder than what happens when you first get there. Most people talk about how hard it is to save your first 1,000, your first 5,000, and they're right. That part is brutal. But almost nobody talks about what happens on the other side of 20,000 and why everything accelerates in ways that feel almost unfair. That's what we're getting into today. And if you're someone who's been grinding and feels like the progress is painfully slow, stick with me, because understanding this might be the thing that keeps you from quitting right before the breakthrough. So let's start with why the money below 20,000 feels so fragile. You know that feeling where you've saved up, let's say, $8,000, and it feels significant but also weirdly temporary? Like you know something is coming for it. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. Because statistically, most people who save between $1,000 and $15,000 end up spending a massive chunk of it within 18 months. Not because they're irresponsible, because life is expensive and emergencies don't care about your savings goals. At that level, your money is basically playing defense. Every dollar you save is just a buffer against the next crisis. It's like trying to fill a swimming pool with a garden hose while someone keeps scooping water out with a bucket. You're making progress, technically, but it doesn't feel like progress because the money never gets to just sit there and be money. Take someone like Jess. Jess is 28, makes about $52,000 a year, lives in a mid-sized city. She's been saving consistently for about 2 years. She's got around $12,000 in savings, which on paper is great. That's more than most Americans have. But here's the thing. Every time her savings starts creeping up, something pulls it back down. New tires, a medical bill her insurance didn't fully cover, her dog needed surgery, and look, you're not going to let your dog suffer because of a savings goal. So Jess keeps hovering in this range where she has money, but it never feels like enough to actually do anything with. It's emergency fund money. It's survival money. And the psychological weight of that is exhausting because saving starts to feel pointless. Why sacrifice and budget and say no to dinners with friends if the money is just going to get eaten by the next surprise? And this is the trap most people fall into. They don't quit saving because they're lazy. They quit because the feedback loop is broken. You put in effort, you don't see lasting results, and your brain goes, well, clearly this doesn't work for someone like me. But here's what nobody tells you. The feedback loop isn't broken. It just hasn't kicked in yet, and 20,000 is roughly where it starts to turn on. Here's why that number matters so much. Once you cross 20,000 in savings or invested assets, something shifts in how you relate to money. Below that number, money is a tool for survival. Above it, money starts becoming a tool for opportunity. And that distinction is everything. When you have $20,000, you have options. You can handle most emergencies without wiping out your entire safety net. You have enough to start putting a real amount into investments where compound growth actually becomes visible. You can negotiate from a position of strength, whether that's a job offer, a lease, even a car purchase. You know that old saying about how it takes money to make money? It's annoying, but it's true. And 20,000 is roughly the altitude where you start to feel it. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say you put 10,000 into an index fund earning an average of 8% annually. After 1 year, you've made about $800. That's nice, but it's not life-changing. Now let's say you have 20,000 in there. That same 8% gives you $1,600. Still not retiring on it, but here's what matters. That $1,600 you earned, You did literally nothing for it. You didn't work extra hours. You didn't skip meals. Your money made money while you were sleeping, or watching Netflix, or arguing with someone on the internet about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. And when that starts happening, something clicks in your brain. You start seeing your savings not as a static pile you're protecting, but as a machine that's actually generating output. That psychological shift is massive. Suddenly saving more doesn't feel like deprivation. It feels like feeding the machine. And the machine is working for you. But let me be honest about something. Getting past 20,000 is where a sneaky psychological hurdle shows up, and almost everybody hits it. It's called the comfort plateau. Basically, once you have a cushion that feels safe, your brain starts whispering really convincing arguments for why you should loosen up a little. You've been so disciplined, you deserve something nice. Your friends are all going on that trip, and now you can actually afford it. Your apartment is fine, but wouldn't a slightly nicer one make you happier? This is lifestyle creep, and it's the silent killer of wealth building. It doesn't show up as one reckless purchase. It shows up as a slow, barely noticeable inflation of your spending that perfectly matches your saving. So you stay in the same place, just with nicer stuff. The way you beat this, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy, is by making your next milestone automatic and invisible. What I mean is, once you hit 20,000, you immediately set up automatic transfers to move any new savings into a separate account or investment that you do not look at regularly. You make it slightly inconvenient to access. Not impossible, but friction heavy enough that the casual, maybe I should treat myself impulse, doesn't survive the effort of actually getting the money out. You basically build a wall between present you and future you's money. Present you cannot be trusted. I'm sorry, but it's true. Present you will buy a $400 espresso machine and justify it by calculating the cost per cup over 10 years. Future you needs a bodyguard, and that bodyguard is automation. Now let's talk about what happens when your money starts compounding in a meaningful way. Because this is where things get genuinely exciting and also kind of weird. Once you're past 20,000 and you've got money working in the market or in some kind of growth vehicle, you hit a stage where your investment gains start to rival what you can save from your paycheck in a given month. This is a profound moment that most people don't even notice when it happens. Let's say you're saving $500 a month from your income. That's solid. That's disciplined. But then, one month, your portfolio goes up $700 on its own. You just got outperformed by your own money. And when that starts happening consistently, your entire relationship with work and time begins to shift. You start thinking less about how to earn more per hour and more about how to deploy capital effectively. You start reading about asset allocation not because someone told you to, but because you're genuinely curious about making your money work harder. You've gone from being a laborer in your own financial life to being a manager. And eventually, if you keep going, you become the owner. But here's the part that nobody talks about, the social side. When you cross the 20,000 mark and keep going, your relationship with the people around you starts to change, and not always in comfortable ways. You'll notice that some friends get weird when you mention saving or investing. Not mean, just weird. A little dismissive, a little jokes that aren't really jokes about you being cheap or obsessed with money. And this is hard because humans are social creatures and we calibrate our behavior to our peer group. If everyone around you is living paycheck to paycheck and you're the one person quietly building wealth, there's this subtle pressure to either hide it or abandon it. Neither option feels great. The move here is not to preach or judge. The move is to find even one or two people who are on the same path, whether that's in real life, online, wherever. You need at least a small circle where talking about money goals is normal and not awkward. Because isolation is where good financial habits go to die. You don't need a mastermind group or a fancy network. You just need somebody you can text and say, "Hey, I just hit 25,000. And they respond with genuine excitement instead of a passive-aggressive comment about how it must be nice. And let me circle back to something I hinted at earlier because I think it's the real core of all of this. The reason everything changes after 20,000 isn't really about the money. I mean, it is. The math is real. Compound growth is real. The options are real. But the deeper shift is about identity. Below 20,000, most people still see themselves as someone who's trying to get by. Above it, especially once you've held it and grown it and watched it work for you, you start to see yourself as someone who's building something. And that identity shift changes every decision you make. It changes how you evaluate job offers, how you think about debt, how you spend your weekends, what you read, what you Google at 2 in the morning. You go from, how do I survive this month, to how do I position myself for the next 5 years. And once that switch flips, it is really, really hard to flip it back. So here's what I want to leave you with. If you're sitting at 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and it feels like you're moving through mud, I want you to know that the mud has a bottom. There is solid ground underneath it, and 20,000 is roughly where your feet hit it, and you can start actually running. The early stages of saving are the hardest, not because you're doing it wrong, but because the math hasn't caught up to your effort yet. It will. The snowball is real, but snowballs need a hill, and you're still pushing yours uphill right now. Once you crest that ridge, gravity starts helping, and once gravity is on your side, honestly, it becomes a whole different game. Keep going, keep automating, keep saying no to the stuff that doesn't matter so you can eventually say yes to everything that does. You're closer than you think. I'll see you in the next one.